My name is Heather Collins. I'm 29, and if you'd asked me a year ago what heartbreak looked like, I would have described shouting, crying, a dramatic ending in a doorway with someone begging, someone slamming a car door, someone calling someone else crazy. What I didn't expect was heartbreak that arrived like a slow leak, silent, almost polite, until one day you realize you've been breathing poison for months and calling it normal. I work as a logistics coordinator for a shipping company in Arizona. It's the kind of job where you're either invisible or blamed. When everything runs smoothly, no one thinks about you. When one route gets delayed or inventory gets miscounted, suddenly you're everyone's favorite punching bag. I'm good at it, though. I'm the person who looks at a mess and sees a system. I plan routes, coordinate drivers, troubleshoot breakdowns before they become disasters. I like the order of it. I like knowing that if I do my job right, things don't fall apart. Outside of work, my life is stable. Not glamorous, but stable. I've been living in Phoenix since graduating college because the job market was solid and housing used to be almost reasonable. I rent a 2-bedroom apartment in Tempe with a balcony that faces the street, not a dumpster, plus actual parking, which feels like winning the lottery in this city. My furniture isn't designer, but it's mine. It doesn't wobble. Nothing is held together by duct tape and hope. I'm not going to pretend I'm some kind of influencer-level beauty. I'm average height, average build, strong in the way you get when you go to the gym for your health, not for strangers' approval. Dark hair. I keep simple. I don't spend 40 minutes styling it because I'd rather sleep. I take care of myself, but I'm not obsessed with myself. Or at least, I wasn't. I met Ethan Ward in spring of 2023, at work. He was new to our building, not new to the company, but transferred from a different location. The first time I really noticed him, he was at the coffee station staring at the machine like it had personally betrayed him. "Is it broken?" I asked. He looked over like I'd interrupted a negotiation. Then he laughed, soft and surprised. "I think it's punishing me for wanting caffeine." I showed him the trick. Wiggle the lever, tap the side, wait for the light to stop blinking. It was ridiculous that the machine needed coaxing like a stubborn animal, but once you knew how to handle it, it behaved. Ethan watched me like I was performing magic. "So you're the one who makes things work." That should have been my first warning. Because people who say that, they don't always mean it as admiration. Sometimes they mean it like a job assignment. He was charming in a low-key way, not loud, not performative. He didn't flirt like a guy trying to win points. He listened. When he laughed, it felt genuine. When he spoke, it was measured. He seemed steady, like a person with his life under control. After college, I dated here and there, but nothing serious held. Guys who wanted chaos. Guys who wanted a mother, not a girlfriend. Guys who thought communication meant dumping emotions on me and expecting me to fix them. By 27, I'd started telling myself maybe I was just meant to be single and focused on my career, my routines, my peace. Then Ethan started showing up at the coffee station at the same time every day, like a coincidence that repeated too perfectly. We'd talk about weekend plans, annoying coworkers, what we were watching on streaming. He had this dry humor that made even boring topics feel lighter. A month after he transferred, he asked me to grab lunch. Nothing fancy, just a sandwich shop down the street that served portions big enough to make you question your life choices. We talked too long. We came back late. I expected awkwardness, but he just smiled like it was inevitable. "I like talking to you," he said, like it was a simple fact. When he asked me out for a real date, he didn't do the whole "maybe if you want, no pressure" thing. He looked me in the eyes and said, "Would you go out with me this weekend?" I said yes. Dating Ethan was easy at first. We worked. We met up after. We cooked dinner or ordered takeout. We watched shows on my couch because my TV setup was better and I had more counter space for cooking. He teased me for organizing my pantry like a mini grocery store. I teased him for folding his shirts with military precision. His apartment was closer to downtown, smaller, minimal. Mine felt warmer. He started spending more nights at my place without even discussing it, like our relationship just naturally decided where it lived. A few months in, I had little signs of him everywhere. His toothbrush in my bathroom, his hoodie on my chair, his favorite creamer in my fridge. And I liked it. I liked coming home to something that didn't feel empty. I liked waking up and seeing him half asleep, reaching for me, like I was familiar comfort. I liked the way he'd text me during the day. Memes, little updates, complaints about meetings, normal couple stuff. He'd tell me, "I love how you've got your life together." He'd say, "It's refreshing dating someone stable." At the time, I heard that as praise. After all the messy relationships, stability sounded like a compliment. We were the kind of couple who could sit in silence and it didn't feel tense. We could talk for hours and not run out of things. We weren't fireworks, we were reliable. I thought reliable meant real. Then, around the 6-month mark, something shifted. Not all at once. Not in a way that could be pinned to one argument or one betrayal. It was subtler than that, like a tone in a song changing slightly until you realize you don't recognize the melody anymore. Ethan started commenting on other women. At first, it was harmless. "She's gorgeous. That actress is stunning. Fine. People have eyes. I'm not jealous by default, and I never wanted to be the girlfriend who polices where her boyfriend looks." But it became constant. Every movie, every show, every time we were out. A woman would walk past us at the grocery store, and Ethan would casually say, "Wow, she's really fit." We'd be at a restaurant, and he'd mention how pretty our server was. We'd be walking through the mall, and he'd comment on someone's body like it was a casual weather report. Not just noticing, pointing it out. Like he wanted me to notice that he was noticing. Then came the social media shift. Ethan started posting more. Not just normal photos, carefully angled ones. Captions that felt like they'd been drafted and redrafted. He'd check likes like they were a pulse. He'd get annoyed if a post didn't perform. He'd take selfies from different angles, stare at them, then ask, "Which one makes my jaw look sharper?" I'd shrug. "They all look the same to me." Wrong answer. He'd sigh dramatically, like I'd failed a test. "No, look, this one's better lighting." And the gym became a thing. He'd always gone a few times a week, but suddenly it was 5 days, sometimes 6. He joined a new gym across town with better equipment and started talking about optimizing workouts, tracking macros, improving aesthetic. One night while we were cooking dinner, he said casually, "There's this girl at my gym. She's insane." I looked up from the cutting board. Insane how? Like model level. "Her name's Sabrina. She's super nice too. She helped me with my form." Something in my stomach tightened. Not because he'd spoken to a woman, because he said it like he wanted me to react, like he was placing her name on the table between us. Sabrina this, Sabrina that. Sabrina recommended this protein. Sabrina does CrossFit. Sabrina invited him to try a class. "You should come sometime," Ethan said one night. "Sabrina could give you tips too." I laughed, forcing it light. "I'm good with my gym." He tilted his head, studying me. "Yeah, but you just do basic stuff. You could really level up." Level up. Like I was a character in a game he wanted to upgrade. Then the comments started, little digs dressed up as concern. "You'd look great if you grew your hair out a bit. You ever thought about changing your style, like more modern? You have potential, Heather. You could look amazing if you put in more effort." More effort. As if my life wasn't already full of effort. Work deadlines, bills, maintaining a home, keeping my body healthy. It wasn't encouragement. It felt like critique pretending to be care. The worst part? He'd say things in front of other people, smiling, like it was a joke we were both in on. One evening, his friend group came over, and while everyone was laughing in the living room, Ethan put his arm around me and said, "Heather's got everything. Brains, personality. I'm just helping her upgrade her look a little." People chuckled. Someone said, "Hey, at least you're honest." I smiled because what else do you do when your boyfriend turns you into a project in front of an audience? But later that night, lying in bed with Ethan asleep beside me, I stared at the ceiling and felt something settle in my chest, heavy, quiet, unmistakable. I didn't feel adored. I felt evaluated. The breaking point didn't come immediately. It never does. First you tell yourself you're being sensitive. Then you tell yourself relationships take work. Then you start adjusting yourself little by little, hoping you can become whatever version of you they're hinting they want. The week of his friend Rachel's birthday party, I changed outfits twice. Not because I wanted to, because I didn't want to disappoint. Ethan watched me from the doorway while I adjusted a dress in the mirror. His expression wasn't cruel. That almost made it worse. It was thoughtful, analytical, like he was comparing options. "Wear the one that hugs your waist," he said. "It's more flattering." And I did it, because at that point, I wasn't even sure what I was fighting for anymore, his love or his approval. On the drive to the party, he mentioned Sabrina again. "She'll probably be there," he said casually, one hand on the wheel, like he was talking about the weather. I stared out the window at the glow of Phoenix lights and told myself, "It's fine. You're fine. Don't be dramatic." But my gut didn't feel fine. My gut felt like it already knew something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. And within hours, In a crowded apartment with music too loud and laughter spilling through the rooms, I was going to overhear a conversation that would make every strange moment of the past 2 months click into place like a lock turning shut. The party was exactly what I expected, and somehow worse. Rachel lived in a mid-rise apartment complex downtown, the kind with an open floor plan that looked great on Instagram but turned into chaos once you packed 30 people inside. Music thumped through the walls, bass vibrating under my ribs. Someone had shoved all the furniture against the walls to create a makeshift dance floor. The kitchen was overflowing, people laughing too loud, red plastic cups everywhere, bottles lined up like trophies. Ethan seemed energized the second we walked in. He kissed my cheek, squeezed my hand, and then almost immediately let go to greet people. I followed a step behind, smiling, nodding, doing that thing women do where they make themselves pleasant and agreeable in rooms full of strangers. Then I saw Sabrina. I knew it was her before Ethan even said her name. She was standing near the kitchen island, laughing, her body angled perfectly, like she was always aware of where the camera might be. Tall, lean, gym-sculpted in a way that looked effortless. Long blonde hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. She wore a fitted black top and jeans that looked painted on. When Ethan spotted her, his face changed. Not dramatically, not obviously. Just lit up. "Oh, there she is," he said, like he'd been waiting. "That's Sabrina." He waved her over. "Hey," he called, already smiling wider than he had at me all evening. She walked toward us, eyes flicking to me briefly before locking onto him. "Ethan, you made it." "Wouldn't miss it," he said. "Heather, this is Sabrina. Sabrina, Heather." She smiled at me, polite but distant, the kind of smile you give someone you've already categorized. "Nice to meet you," she said. "Yeah, you too," I replied. Ethan launched into conversation with her immediately. Gym talk, workouts, inside jokes I wasn't part of. I stood there holding my drink, nodding along like a prop. After a few minutes, I excused myself to the bathroom. I stared at my reflection under harsh fluorescent light. My dress, my hair, my face. I looked fine. I reminded myself of that. When I came back out, Ethan was still with Sabrina, laughing too hard at something she said. His hand brushed her arm as he reacted, casual, unthinking. Something twisted in my chest. I didn't want to cause a scene. I didn't want to be that girlfriend. So I did what I'd been doing more and more lately. I made myself smaller. I drifted into conversations with people I didn't know. Talked about work, about traffic, about nothing. Every few minutes, my eyes found Ethan again. And almost every time he was near her. Around 10, I went into the kitchen to grab a soda. The music was slightly quieter there, muffled by walls and bodies. I stood near the fridge, waiting for someone to move out of the way. That's when I heard my name. "So are you happy with her?" a woman's voice asked. I didn't recognize it. I froze. Ethan's voice answered, closer than I expected. "Yeah, Heather's great." I stayed still, my hand resting on the fridge handle, heart suddenly pounding. "She's really nice," another voice said. Rachel's. "She's more than nice," Ethan replied quickly. "She's solid, reliable. She treats me really well." There was a pause, then someone laughed softly. "But," the first woman asked. Ethan exhaled. I could hear the smile in his voice. "But, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm settling." The word hit me like a slap. Settling. My vision narrowed. "Settling how?" Rachel asked. Looks-wise," he said. "Heather's fine. She's attractive enough. Nothing wrong with her. But compared to someone like Sabrina, there's just no comparison." I felt like the floor tilted. Someone made a sympathetic noise. "You can't help what you're attracted to." "Exactly," Ethan said. "And I love Heather's personality. I love how stable she is, how she has her life together. But sometimes it's hard, watching everyone else date these insanely hot people while you're with someone who's just adequate." "Adequate," I swallowed hard. Another woman laughed awkwardly. "Why can't you find someone who has Heather's personality and Sabrina's body?" Ethan laughed too. "Right? Is that too much to ask?" They all laughed. I didn't move. I don't know how long I stood there. Seconds, maybe minutes, staring at a stack of paper towels while my insides collapsed. I chose Heather," Ethan continued. "She's the smart choice. The long-term choice. I just wish—" He trailed off. "You wish what?" Rachel prompted. "I wish I didn't notice other women so much," he said. "But I do. And sometimes it makes me feel like I'm missing out." Missing out? On what? Someone hotter? Someone shinier? Someone he could show off without needing to explain her value? I couldn't breathe. I set the soda down slowly, quietly, like any sudden movement might shatter me completely. No one noticed me. They were too busy dissecting my worth like a hypothetical problem. I walked out of the kitchen, past the living room, past people dancing and laughing, past Ethan, who didn't even look at me as I headed for the door. The cool night air hit my face like a shock. I got into my car, shut the door, and just sat there gripping the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. Ethan. I declined the call. It buzzed again. I let it ring. The third time I answered. Hey, where did you go? He asked, voice light, unaware. The party's still going. I left, I said. What? Why? I'm tired. Oh, you didn't say goodbye. I didn't feel like it. There was a pause. Do you want me to come with you? I thought about what I'd just heard, about being the smart choice, the adequate one. No, I said. Stay, have fun. You sure? Yeah. I hung up before he could say anything else. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every comment from the past 2 months with new clarity. The comparisons, the suggestions, the way he'd looked at other women, the way he'd looked at me, like potential, not preference. Here's the thing about being called adequate. It's worse than being called ugly. Ugly is definitive. Adequate is temporary. Adequate is this will do until something better comes along. I could have confronted him right away. I could have screamed, cried, demanded explanations. But what would be the point? He'd said what he really felt when he thought I wasn't listening. And once you hear the truth, you can't pretend it didn't land. By Sunday morning, I knew. I wasn't going to fight to be chosen. I was going to walk away before he decided I wasn't worth settling for anymore. Sunday morning sunlight spilled through my bedroom blinds like nothing had changed. That was the strangest part. The world kept moving. Birds chirped. Cars passed. My phone buzzed with notifications that had nothing to do with the fact that my relationship had quietly died the night before. Ethan texted around 10. Ethan, did you get home okay last night? I stared at the screen for a long moment before replying. Me, yeah. A few seconds passed. Ethan, you left pretty suddenly. Everything okay? I could have said 1,000 things. I could have told him I heard everything. I could have told him exactly how small he'd made me feel. I could have told him how deeply that word, adequate, had carved itself into my chest. Instead, I typed, me. I just needed some space. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Ethan, do you want to come over later? We can talk. Talk. Like this was a misunderstanding. Like there was some version of the night that didn't end with him laughing about how he wished my body belonged to someone else. Me. I've got errands, maybe later this week. That wasn't a lie. I did have errands. The first one was figuring out how to leave a man who thought loving me was a compromise. I spent the day cleaning my apartment with a focus that bordered on obsessive. I folded laundry that didn't need folding. I reorganized drawers that were already organized. I scrubbed surfaces until my hands smelled like lemon cleaner. Busy hands kept my thoughts from spiraling. By Monday evening, I had made my decision. I asked Ethan to come over. He showed up around 7, carrying takeout like nothing was wrong. Thai food, my favorite. He smiled when I opened the door, leaned in to kiss me, and paused when I didn't meet him halfway. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. We need to talk. We sat on the couch, the same couch where we'd spent countless nights watching shows, laughing, planning trips we'd never take now. Ethan shifted, sensing it. What's going on? I think we should break up. The words landed softly. No accusation, no anger, just a statement. His face froze. What? He said, laughing a little like he'd misheard. Where is this coming from? I've been thinking, I replied, and I don't think this is working anymore. Heather, that's insane, he said. Things are good. We're good. Are we? Yes, obviously. Is this about the party? If you're upset that I didn't leave when you did, I thought you said it was fine. This isn't about the party. Then what is it about? His voice sharpened. Did I do something wrong? I could have lied, could have said we'd grown apart, could have blamed timing. Instead, I looked at him and said calmly, I heard you. His breath caught. Hear what? At Rachel's party, in the kitchen. Color drained from his face. You were listening? I wasn't trying to be, I said, but I heard you say you were settling. Silence filled the room like smoke. That wasn't, Heather, you took that out of context, he said quickly. It was just stupid guy talk. You called me adequate. He ran a hand through his hair. I was drunk. You weren't that drunk. I didn't mean it like that, he insisted. You know I love you. You love my personality, I said. You love how stable I am, how reliable I am. You don't love me. That's not true. Then why have you spent the last 2 months telling me how I could look better, dress better, train harder? I was trying to help. No, I said softly. You were trying to upgrade me. Tears welled in his eyes. You're blowing this way out of proportion. I don't think I am, I replied. You're allowed to want someone more attractive. You're allowed to notice other women. But I'm not going to be someone's backup plan while they wish they had someone else. I wasn't settling, he said desperately. I chose you. You chose me because I was safe. That's not a bad thing. It is when it's the only reason. He leaned forward, voice breaking. I can stop. I'll stop talking about other women. I won't make comments anymore. I'll do better. I don't want you to change, I said. I want you to be with someone you're excited about. And I want to be with someone who doesn't think loving me is a compromise. He cried then, full, messy tears. I don't want to lose you, he said. Please. Somewhere, months ago, that might have worked. But once you hear someone say they're settling for you, there's no unhearing it. I've made up my mind, I said gently. He stayed for another 20 minutes, cycling through apologies, promises, anger, disbelief. None of it moved me. Eventually, he packed up the things he'd left at my place. Hoodie, charger, shoes by the door. At the door, he turned back. This is a mistake. Maybe, I said, but it's mine. After he left, the apartment felt impossibly quiet. The first week after the breakup was strange. Ethan texted, apologized, asked to talk, said he understood why I was hurt and wanted to fix it. I kept my responses short. Eventually, the text slowed. I threw myself into work, into the gym, into routines. Not to prove anything, but because I needed somewhere to put all the energy I'd been spending trying to be enough for someone else. Through office gossip I never asked for, I heard Ethan wasn't doing great. He looked tired, distracted, snapped at coworkers, stopped posting on social media. Part of me felt bad. Most of me felt free. Month 2 was when something shifted. I went to a logistics conference in Las Vegas for work. 3 days of presentations, bad coffee, and networking. That's where I met Daniel. And everything I thought I knew about attraction was about to be rewritten. I met Daniel Reyes on the second day of a logistics conference in Las Vegas, somewhere between a panel on supply chain optimization and my third cup of terrible hotel coffee. He was presenting for a partner company based in California, walking a room full of half-asleep professionals through inventory forecasting. Like it was actually interesting. Clear slides, confident delivery, no condescension. He answered questions directly, without talking over anyone or trying to sound smarter than he was. When the session ended, people clustered around him. I waited my turn, then said, "That presentation was really solid, especially the part about reducing redundancy across distribution centers." He smiled, not performative, not impressed with himself, just warm. "Thanks. That's the part everyone usually pretends to understand." I laughed, and then we started talking. About work at first, about inefficiencies we'd both dealt with, about how logistics is basically just solving the same problems in slightly different ways. Daniel was easy to talk to, not flirty, not distant, present. He was attractive in a way that didn't demand attention. About my height, athletic without being sculpted, dark hair he clearly didn't spend too much time on. He looked like someone who lived in the real world and liked it there. Later that day, we ended up sitting next to each other during another session, then grabbing lunch with a group. By dinner, it felt natural to keep talking about hiking, favorite restaurants, bad reality TV. "Are you seeing anyone?" he asked casually while we were splitting dessert with a group. "No," I said, recently out of something. He nodded. "Got it. No follow-up questions, no prying, just respect." Before we parted ways that night, he asked if I wanted to grab coffee the next morning before sessions. I said yes. We talked for 2 hours. I told him, briefly, about Ethan, about overhearing the conversation, about being called adequate. Daniel didn't interrupt, didn't minimize it. When I finished, he shook his head. "That's not a you problem." I laughed softly. "Feels like one." "No," he said firmly. "That's someone who doesn't know how to value what's in front of them." A few weeks later, Daniel came to Phoenix for work. We met for coffee, then lunch, then dinner. Conversation flowed effortlessly. He never commented on my body like it was something to evaluate, never suggested improvements, never compared me to anyone else. One night, while we were cooking at my place, he looked at me and said casually, "You know you're really attractive, right?" I froze. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loaded, it was said like an observation, not a judgment. "Oh," I said, "thanks." He smiled. "I mean it." That was the difference. By January, we were officially dating. And slowly, without me realizing it, the tightness I'd been carrying in my chest started to loosen. Then, in March, everything came full circle. Daniel was in town, and we went out to dinner in Scottsdale. Halfway through the meal, I looked up and saw Ethan walk in with a group of friends. Our eyes met. His went wide. He saw Daniel's hand resting casually on mine. 10 minutes later, Ethan approached the table. "Heather," he said, voice shaky, "can I talk to you?" I stood. Daniel squeezed my hand gently. "I'll be right here." Ethan didn't waste time. "Who is he?" "Someone I'm dating." "You moved on already?" His voice cracked. "It's been months." "She's really attractive," he said quietly, eyes flicking to Daniel. I met his gaze. "He thinks I am too." Tears filled his eyes. "I made a mistake." "I know. I never should have said those things. I was insecure. I didn't mean them." "Maybe," I said, "but you still said them." "I miss you," he whispered, "every day." I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just clarity. "I hope you find someone who doesn't make you feel like you're settling," I said, "but it's not going to be me." I walked back to the table. Daniel smiled. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. It's been 8 months now. Daniel and I are still together. He works remotely part of the time and spends a lot of it in Phoenix now. We're talking about him moving here permanently. Ethan, from what I hear, is still struggling. I don't feel guilty, because